zero against Bitcoin.
It's going up forever, Laura.
You're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom.
Yo! Welcome to Simply Bitcoin Live, your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution. Code breaking news, culture, and medic warfare. We will be your guide through the separation of money and state. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. The last couple of days, I was in South Carolina. I didn't realize where I was at until the event happened, but I was at the Ocean Bitcoin mining event, which I know Opti and Sophie, who were holding it down while I was gone, covered yesterday. But I had no idea it was going to be that historic, and I got to witness firsthand, this announcement of the further advancement of the decentralization of Bitcoin mining. So we're going to touch upon that a little today. I did get a video on the ground. I got to meet Jack Dorsey in the flesh. I shook his hand. That was pretty crazy. But yeah, that's where I've been. So I'm glad that I'm back. But today's going to be a very, very special show. We're going to talk about how much Bitcoin exactly do you need to be in the 1%. Well, we've had an episode on that already, but I wanted to add another component, which is not only how much Bitcoin you need specifically to be in the 1%, but are you too late to Bitcoin? Because I think there's a couple components there. And then to put the cherry on top, right, we're going to do this episode today. Michael Saylor just announced that MicroStrategy bought an additional 16,130 Bitcoin. They now hold 174,000 Bitcoin. They almost hold one of every Bitcoin, which is crazy. One of every 100 Bitcoin, which is just absolutely nuts. At an average price of $30,252 per coin. So he actually increased his average price, because his average price before he started stacking a lot after it went over 30K was around 29K. So like, obviously, Michael Saylor has a long-term commitment to this and a long-term vision. So it's going to be a great show. I'm super, super happy to be back. Shout out to Opti and Sophie for holding it down while I was gone. No more delay. Let me bring up my legendary co-host who's been hosting only Optimus Fields, and he's half smiling today.
It was everything is fine meme for the last week, Nico. But no, we held it down, man. It was fun. It was a good week.
It was the numbers were good. The Monday show popped off.
We did great. I didn't bomb it this week. It feels good to not completely blow up Simply Bitcoin. So shouts out to everyone in the chat. But man, before we get into it, I'm not gonna lie. Shouts out to Saylor. But it's starting to make me nervous how much Bitcoin he actually owns. It's absolutely incredible. Obviously, we know we'll probably talk about it. He has no more influence on the network than anyone else. But man, he's got so many coins. It's absolutely insane. Straight up Chad Saylor. And I really, it's going to get absolutely crazy when other billionaires start playing the race of sat accumulation. I don't think we can really fathom this. And it's mad. 2024, 2025 is going to get crazy, and moving forward, it's going to get even crazier. I'm just happy that we front ran everyone, and we have, maybe it's our own little measly stack in comparison to Saylor's, but hey, feels good. It feels good to be right about things.
Yeah. So remember, guys, it's infinity divided by 21 million. It's infinity divided by 21 million, but really it's like infinity divided by 18 or 17 million because of how many so many are lost. Not to mention the fact that 70% of Bitcoin has not moved in over 1 year, right? So the available supply is very little. So it's exactly what Opti said. I think he hit the nail on the head. He buried the lead there a little bit when, other public companies or other billionaires, let's say they want to adopt MicroStrategy strategy, they literally couldn't. There's not enough Bitcoin to go around. So what's that going to do to the price? And that's why he's so confident. And whoever that reporter or that podcaster was, could you hit the soundboard, Opti? Do the honors.
Yeah, it was literally we're on the same wavelength.
We're syncing, bro.
It's going up forever, Laura.
Exactly. Oh man, it's going to be great. All right, everybody. I'm excited for the show. Happy to be back in the saddle. Let's jump straight into numbers. Let's do it.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Is your seed phrase really secure. Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them on paper. Don't store your generational wealth on paper. Paper is prone to water damage, fire damage. You want to put your generational wealth on one of the strongest metals on planet Earth, titanium. Your words are actually stamped into this metal plate with this hammer and these letter stamps. And once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamped seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin with peace of mind for the long haul. Stamp your seed on Stamp Seed. All right, guys, I wanted to say something about the Stamp Seed real quick. Look at that. They literally, like, this is like they put a blowtorch, they pressed it, and the words are still there. So don't store your generational wealth on paper. Store it on titanium. So you don't have to explain to your grandchildren. You know how much that would suck? You've been stacking your entire life, and then all of a sudden you lose your Bitcoin because, you know, your dog ate your seed phrase. That would suck. Store your seed phrase. Store your seed phrase on titanium.
The new excuse is no longer the dog ate my homework. It's sorry, IRS, the dog ate my seed phrase.
That is not Nico approved. Oh my God. All right. That was a joke. Okay.
That was a joke. That's a joke. That's a joke.
At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is 37,685 sats per dollar, 2,654. Block height, 819,150. Blocks to halving, 20,850. Halving estimate, April 19, 2024. Total Lightning Network capacity, 5,045 Bitcoin. Capacity value, 190 million US dollars. Realized monetary inflation, 1.75%. The market capitalization of Bitcoin, $737 billion with the B. The Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 5.39%. In the grand scheme of things, Bitcoin is still a baby. Once Bitcoin reaches the market cap of gold, that would put the price of Bitcoin at $590,000 per coin, or roughly $600,000 per Bitcoin. So are you trying to tell me that it's not going to get there? Bitcoin's just better than gold, man. That's what I got to say. And I'm not trashing gold that much because I do like holding like actual fucking real gold. Like real gold feels nice. It feels nice. It's heavy. It feels good. But try flying with a large amount, crossing a border. Try paying with that metal bar at a CVS or something to buy something. You know, you can't do that, but you could definitely do that with Bitcoin, right? Anyways, just putting that thought out there. Today, I do want to give a small update on the battle for free speech. And I think Elon Musk really defined what having fuck you money is like, because he had an interview on the legacy corporate media. I think it was part of like the it was essentially part of the New York Times. I think this show with Andrew Ross Sorkin. He's the host of CNBC. It's called the Deal Book Summit, New York Times. You guys know what this is. This is when SBF gave a speech and the audience gave a round of applause. Like, yeah, it's that same venue. It was that same show. It was that same event. And Musk was challenged because essentially there's some information warfare going on. And I think we covered it last week, but just to give a little bit of a reminder of what's going on. So Media Matters made the claim that that advertisers' ads essentially were being put next to extremist content. So anti-Semitic content, racist content, extremist content, and it worked. A lot of companies pulled their ads, including IBM, Lionsgate Entertainment, Apple, Disney, Warner Brothers, Discovery, Paramount, NBC Universal, Comcast, Sony, Ubisoft, right? So just to name a few. So this was an attack. Now, if you read this on its face, you're like, if you think about it, right? You're like, including us at Simply Bitcoin, that's like, no, we don't like racism. Like, we don't like, people calling. I think racism is a fucking distraction, and it's horrific and it's terrible. But are their claims true, or did they manipulate the media in order to achieve a certain political end goal? And I believe it's obviously they tried to manipulate the media. So Elon Musk sued back, but it wasn't also Elon Musk. It was also the Attorney General of Texas, Ken Paxton. He also announced that he was going to be launching an investigation into potential fraudulent activity. So here is a piece from the Associated Press. The Media Matters report pointed to ads from Apple and Oracle that also were placed next to anti-Semitic material on X. On Friday, it said it also found ads from Amazon, NBA Mexico, NBC Universal, and others next to white nationalist hashtags. But San Francisco-based X says in the complaint filed in federal court in Fort Worth, Texas, that Media Matters, quote, knowingly and maliciously portrayed ads next to hateful material as if they were what typical X users experience on the platforms. X complaint claims that Media Matters manipulated algorithms on the platform to create images of advertisers' paid posts next to racist, incendiary content. The juxtapositions, according to the complaint, were, quote, manufactured, inorganic, and extraordinarily rare. It says that Media Matters did this by using X accounts that just followed X users known to produce extreme fringe content and accounts owned by X major advertisers. This, the complaint says, led to a feed aimed at producing side-by-side placements that Media Matters could then screenshot in an effort to alienate X advertisers, right? So, was this actually happening regularly? Like, if you're a regular user? No, they had to manipulate it. They had to follow only the extremist accounts, only the said companies that were advertising with Twitter to get that result. So if this wasn't just happening naturally and organically, they were trying to artificially create the results. Why were they trying to do that? Well, since Elon Musk took over the platform, right, he's been a lot friendlier to free speech. And that is a big problem to institutions, governments that have been used to controlling the free flow of information. Remember what the current administration did? They tried to set up the so-called Ministry of Truth. And I'm not trying to side with a certain political party. I think whether it's a Republican or Democrat, any conservative, liberal, if they have the political means to do this without severe repercussions, I think it's just human nature to try to censor your political opposition. This is why protocols like Bitcoin and Nostr are so important, because they don't have that issue, so to speak. So yeah, it's just crazy. But look, the reality is that Twitter, or X, is really the platform that has the critical mass, so that the majority or a big part of the world is there. And clearly what they're trying to do is they're trying to attack its revenues for political means. And here is Elon. This just happened. I think it happened a couple of days ago. The Bitcoin therapist, he made some memes for us back in the past. Then he said, the elites are doing everything in their power to bankrupt X, control the media, stop Bitcoin, and keep you a prisoner. Elon tells them to their face to go F themselves. So we'll play the clip in a second. But this reminds me of my favorite passage from Don't Drink the Elite's Kool-Aid. From Bitcoin Magazine. You'd be thinking, like, why is Media Matters doing this? Why was the US government, which was discovered when the Twitter files were leaked, why were members of the US government asking Twitter to censor certain American speech? Well, if you censor speech that you don't disagree with, then you don't have to provide arguments against it. You know, it's just kind of common sense, right? So, and Nayib Bukele, I think he understood this. I think he understood this vehemently, probably because of the amount of bullshit he knew he was going to have to deal with from the legacy corporate media when he made Bitcoin legal tender. Again, this is a passage from Stop Drinking the Elite's Kool-Aid, which was published by our friends over at Bitcoin Magazine. He goes on to say, the most vocal detractors, the ones who are afraid and pressuring us to reverse our decision, are the world's most powerful elites and the people who work for or benefit from them. They used to own everything, and in a way they still do. The media, the banks, the NGOs, the international organizations, and almost all the governments and corporations in the world. And with that, of course, they own the armies, the loans, the money supply, the credit ratings, the narrative, the propaganda, the factories, the food supply. They control international trade and international law, but their most powerful weapon is their control on the truth. And they're willing to fight, lie, smear, destroy, censor, confiscate, print, and do whatever it takes to maintain and increase their control over the truth and everything and everyone. So make no mistake, this attack by Media Matters, right? They're trying to hide under a noble cause, because I think no one wants, their ads to be shown next to white supremacists, next to anti-Semites, next to racists. Nobody wants that, right? That's disgusting. But that's not what happened. They had to artificially create that in order to achieve that, with the goal of attacking Twitter's revenue, because they can no longer censor Twitter the way they used to be able to censor when it wasn't under the control of Elon Musk. Now, again, I want to emphasize, this is why Nostr is so badass. This is why Bitcoin is so badass, because no matter what you do, you can't just deplatform someone off Nostr. You can't just deplatform someone off Bitcoin. So what it does is it becomes a forcing function, and essentially you're going to have to deal with that person transacting. You're going to have to deal with that person's ideas. And if that person's ideas are powerful, you're going to have to win over people in the free market of ideas rather than just trying to censor their speech altogether. That makes it very difficult for governments to try to explain what inflation is. Like, I know this is in relation to, I know that this is to achieve a certain other political end goal, but remember what we've always brought up on Simply Bitcoin. Our end goal here should be to essentially get governments to a point where they are forced to ask the question, why are you forcing us via legal tender laws to use a money that steals from us, that is designed to lose purchasing power over time? And why are you punishing me because I'm choosing to use a money that is deflationary, meaning it increases in purchasing power over time, and it's censorship resistant? And I don't think they have a good answer to that. And the reason I say that is because anytime we played you the video by Elizabeth Warren, essentially her case is, Bitcoin wouldn't be necessary if people had a more efficient means of payment. That's what CBDCs are all about. No, Elizabeth Warren. The whole point of Bitcoin is that it protects your purchasing power from government debasement, right? If we have open discourse, we can bring that to light. If we don't have open discourse, if they censor the free flow of information, normies are just completely unaware of that. Remember what Nayib Bukele says, their most important weapon is their control on truth. So shout out to Elon for really fighting back on this. And here it's the definition of fuck you money, because his answer, not only his answer, but the reaction from Andrew Sorkin was hilarious. He made the same reaction that I do when Opti goes a little bit off the rails. He just kind of like put his hand on his face, just kind of like looking down, like, holy shit, did he really just say that? Anyways, I'm gonna play it to you guys and then we'll talk about it.
Obviously, you know that there's a public perception that, and you're clarifying this now, but there's a public perception that was part of a apology tour, if you will. That this had been said online. There was all of the criticism. There was advertisers leaving. We talked to Bob Iger today.
I hope they stop.
You hope?
Don't advertise.
You don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go fuck yourself.
But
go fuck yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is. Hey, Bob, if you're in the audience.
well, let me ask you then.
That's how I feel. Don't advertise.
How do you think then about the economics of X? If part of the underlying model, at least today, and maybe it needs to shift, maybe the answer is it needs to shift away from advertising. If you believe that this is the one part of your business where you will be beholden to those who have this view, what do you do?
F-Y.
I understand that, but there's a reality too, right?
Yes. No.
I mean, Linda Yaccarino's right here, and she's got to sell advertising.
Absolutely. So, totally. No. Actually, what this advertising boycott is going to do? It's going to kill the company.
And do you think that
and the whole world will know that those advertisers killed the company, and we will document it in great detail.
But those advertisers, I imagine, are going to say, we didn't kill the company.
Oh yeah.
They're going to say,
tell it to Earth.
But they're going to say, Elon, that you killed the company because you said these things, and that they were inappropriate things, and that they didn't feel comfortable on the platform, right? That's what they're going to say.
And let's see how Earth responds to that.
So this.
Woo! Okay. This is heating up. So you see how this all started. And please connect this with the article from Nayib Bukele, where he's describing, right, these NGOs, these international organizations, these corporate companies, part of the Containeer Conference, part of the World Economic Forum. He referenced Bob. That was a reference to Bob Iger, who is the CEO of Disney. And clearly, you could make an argument that perhaps they knew that what Media Matters was doing, they weren't necessarily telling the truth, but it's just like the Wall Street Journal article and the FinCEN. Like, even though it was revealed that the Wall Street Journal article was bullshit, it still achieved its political end goal. So this is the same thing. This is the kind of the justification, right? And for anyone who's like a low information voter or is someone who just consumes the legacy media, you're just like, wow, Elon's an asshole. He's promoting far right extremist content, like, or racist content or anti-Semitic content. But I personally think X has gotten better. I don't see any of this extremist content. Did you guys know that they just allow porn on X? Did you guys know that? Like, that's a thing, right? So, like, and it's just like, you could see it, like, full blown, like, all this stuff. So it's like, I feel like they're picking boogeymen, and to artificially create a result, they get the images and they're like, you see, he's a far right extremist, and they're attacking him for it. But I don't think it has to do anything with the far right, because remember what they did with Javier Milei. What did they call Javier Milei, who's a libertarian candidate? He's not a ultra conservative candidate. He's a libertarian. What did they do? They called him a far right extremist. What did they do with Nayib Bukele? They basically called him a fascist. So essentially, anyone who doesn't toe the party line is somehow an extremist. And what is happening on Twitter is two things. It's showing the weakness of centralized platforms, right? This is why Nostr and Bitcoin are so important. You can't even do this if you tried. The CEO, the Bitcoin CEO and Nostr CEO are not available to comment. There is no one to say, go fuck yourself, right? But it's also highlighting the fact of how much these powerful institutions and governments, mind you, these are Nayib Bukele's words, value their control on the narrative and their control on the truth, And that is how they manipulate people, in my opinion, if we're really going to connect the dots here, into using a money that steals from you. And then the way that they get you to go along with it is that they either use some of that money printing to, give you some welfare and make sure, take $100 out of your back pocket and give you $10 back. And you're like, oh, I got $10 for free. Or they use the divide and conquer strategy, which is basically they tell you that all your problems are caused because the left-wing party's in power, the right-wing party's in power, all the while, regardless of what party's in power, they're debasing the fuck out of your wealth, out of your money, if you're earning in that said fiat currency. So you're witnessing firsthand, you have a front row seat to the battle for free speech. And you can clearly tell where Elon stands in all this. That reporter wasn't ready. He pulled an eco when Opti goes ham. Like, he was just like, holy sh! I don't even have a fucking response to that. And then he's like, what about the economic situation? Which is crazy. And this is why Elon said blackmail. These big ass companies, they're not concerned about the truth. They're concerned about maintaining the narrative, which is crazy to me, right? So he called it for what it is, blackmail. And then what he said was like, look, like, if they're going to bankrupt the company based on bullshit data, like, so be it. And again, this isn't a public company. This is a private company. Elon owns it. So if they're going to try to bankrupt Twitter, even though it was manipulated data that was represented in the Media Matters article, and the fact that even though this was manipulated data, and the fact that these companies still have not walked it back, I think speaks volumes for what they're actually interested in. Anyways, this is crazy, dude. This is crazy. Separation of money and state, separation of information in the state, front row seats. This is nuts. This is nuts. Nayib Bukele called this, brother. I don't know when that article dropped, but he hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, I mean, that was last year. Like, before any of this stuff started to heat up, we've been covering this for a while, and Nayib Bukele pretty much exposed that a long time ago. Okay, like, on the surface, of course, like, that was pretty based, from Musk. It was pretty, like, as someone that comes on here on YouTube and basically calls this out all the time, it does feel good. It's one of those things of like, yeah, we were right. I mean, we constantly talk about, most people yell at me now in the chat when I say the monopoly on truth, but really it's the monopoly on the flow of information. And we're seeing that the elites, the unproductive class are so detached from reality that they are scrambling to control the narrative one more time. And these are the tools of controlling that narrative that we see all the time. We constantly go over the target, as Nico always says, and it's always, the signal is the same. Follow the money. It's always about the money. And even Musk has said it. So, like, on the surface level, it does feel like he's exposing the game, and there is a vie for power right now. Now, if we go under the levels and, putting my tinfoil hat on a little bit here, it does make me wonder what is actually going on. It does seem like, based on Musk's rhetoric, I don't really like to speculate on what he's actually doing because I have no clue. I'm just kind of watching it like everyone else does. It does seem like he is a proponent for free speech, even though there are still accounts that are nuked on Twitter, so like there is some nuance to this whole conversation. But also, again, just putting my tinfoil hat on, it always makes me think of like, what are the attack vectors, and thinking about this adversarially. It does make me feel like maybe there is some kind of misdirection going on here. And I'm not sure exactly where it's going. Like, it does feel kind of more like divide and conquer, make Elon to be some kind of hero, and maybe he's not exactly who we think he is. Again, that's just me thinking here out loud and going down different rabbit holes and trying to wonder what's going on. Again, what do we always say in Bitcoin? There are no heroes, slay your heroes and all that. And people are trying to make Musk out to be a hero right now. Though, if you take it just based on the surface level stuff, like, It seems like he's in the fight for free speech. Again, there's nuance to all of this, and he is exposing the game. And it just makes me wonder, like constantly we talk about escaping the matrix, the fiat matrix, and opting out and all that. But when I see people come out with big followings, especially, the richest man in the world, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. It just makes me wonder, like, is this a misdirection play? Obviously, we are free speech maxis. We want to encourage free speech. I don't think we need to have the nanny state tell us, what is free speech and what is good speech and what is bad speech and all that stuff. Because, if you just look at that clip, and we constantly roll out the receipts on the show, the parallels between what we're seeing, and you mentioned it, from Elizabeth Warren's, we need to protect the common good from criminals using Bitcoin. You're seeing the same narrative and the same framing in regards to free speech, that we need to protect the common good and police speech, and just going down those precedents it's absolutely terrifying. Of course, we all have read 1984 and all the dystopian novels of the past, where we always joke that it wasn't supposed to be a blueprint, like it wasn't supposed to be the playbook, and yet here we are. So again, I just try to think of this on the surface level. It does feel like a good dopamine. It's like, yeah, keep going. But then on the back end, I think we have to be adversarial in our thinking and really just try to consider what is going on and what are the plays here. And of course, we constantly say that the media, the corporate press, has no legitimacy. They're so detached from reality.
I don't think they care.
Yeah, honestly, that's my point. I 100% agree.
It clearly, and not all of them. Right. There's some good guys like Tucker, and I think that's why they fired him. But like, I think really what was uncovered is that the legacy corporate media, it's really difficult to say this. I don't know if it was always like this, because I remember watching CNN like back in the 2000s, and like maybe like just because there wasn't any alternatives, you didn't notice, but it's hard to come, and we're going to show this during the news, by the way, the hashtag swimming pools. But it just seems like a lot of these well-respected legacy institutions have really become propaganda arms.
Without a doubt.
And they're riding on their coattails of legitimacy. But from my perspective, I know, again, this is an opinion, it's not a fact, but it's just like, do you have a political goal here? Like, aren't you supposed to be a journalist? Your job is to be a journalist and report what you're seeing, not propagandize. And that's just very strange to me. Like, it's very strange that, independent content creators are now the sources of truth for people. And this is why I think you see the rise of Joe Rogan, the rise of Russell Brand, the rise of alternative media, because I think people are sick and tired of being fed a certain narrative that it's like their comments is like, bro, like, you're fucking lying to me. And I think that their response is like,
lie harder. No, we're not.
Lie harder and censor harder so that people don't find alternative. Those alternatives are extremists. It's dangerous when people want to seek out their own information. So anyways, this is crazy.
Wait. Before, remember they used to tell you a couple of years back, the corporate press was saying, like, don't do your own research, just trust the experts. Like, if that's not signs of what's going on, they're like, no, don't look behind the veil. Just trust us, bro. Don't look into this. You don't have to look into this. There's nothing there. And it's just like, yeah, that's usually when I want to look into stuff.
Yeah, and then this kind of leads me to my final. We'll wrap it up with this. And this is a message from Jeff Booth, right? Because it comes down to the money at the end of the day. So Elon Musk, and this was before the Media Matters attack, said, how did most of the legacy media go from superheroes of free speech to supervillains of speech suppression? And Jeff Booth says, because broken money ensures the centralization of power by stealing the productivity through inflation that should flow to society in the form of lower prices. Then those enriched by that theft and subsequent power must control the messaging to keep it. That's really what's happening here, ladies and
It's
gentlemen.
all a game of trust, man. It's even in the white paper. Like,
This
come on.
is the separation of money and state. So if you don't like, the Contailer Conference, I suggest you go to the Bitcoin Conference, the largest Bitcoin conference on planet Earth. Bitcoin 2024, they're a sponsor this year. You can go to July 25th. You can go to the Bitcoin Conference. It's from July 25th through the 27th, 2024. It's not going to be in Miami this year. It's going to be in Nashville, Tennessee. You want to get your tickets quickly before the prices go up, and they will go up. You can get a GA ticket for $349, an industry pass for $849. The industry pass includes 3 days. And the Whale Pass. The Whale Pass gives you exclusive access to the deep backstage VIP lounge, premium seating, and VIP viewing area. I got to meet Tulsi Gabbard backstage. It was pretty badass. So I definitely recommend going to the Bitcoin Conference, Bitcoin 2024, the largest Bitcoin conference on planet Earth. You're definitely not going to want to miss it. All right, everybody, let's get to the news. We have a lot to talk about.
The Daily News.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation Devices. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US. It's fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a simple feature phone. So you will know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes. Experience the peace of mind that comes with taking ownership of your own keys. After a massive sellout during Bitcoin Miami 2023, the Passport is back in stock at foundationdevices.com. Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, completely air-gapped security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. If you're thinking about getting your Bitcoin off exchanges, this is the one for you. Check out the Passport link in the show notes below to learn more. So guys, I highly recommend the Passport hardware wallet. Right when you turn it on, it says, congratulations on taking custody of your Bitcoin and reclaiming your sovereignty. Guys, remember, not your keys, not your Bitcoin. Get yourself a hardware wallet that's air-gapped, that's open source. At Simply Bitcoin, we recommend the Passport. You can scan the QR code on your screen right now. It'll take you directly to the Foundation Devices website. All right, everybody, let's get to the news of today. All right, so I had the privilege and honor to be able to attend the Ocean event yesterday. It was on Tuesday. I got back yesterday, where Jack Dorsey, Luke Dash Jr., Bitcoin Mechanic all announced the next step towards true Bitcoin mining pool decentralization. And they announced Ocean. Jack Dorsey leads the seed round with $6.2 million. So they got a ton of funding. And the reason that this is important is because where we are heading, mining pools, right? And there's not that many of them, to be honest with you, right? There's Ant Pool, there's Foundry USA, there's F2 Pool, and there's a couple others, but there's only a handful. Now, I know a lot of people are saying, oh, this is Bitcoin centralization, blah, 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 blah. No. Think of Bitcoin mining like entering a lottery, right? And if you pool, hence the name pool, if you pool your resources together, what do? You increase the probability of you winning that said lottery, right? So just because there's a couple, people are doing that out of convenience because they want to increase their probability of winning that lottery so that they can maintain profits, right? Like if you're running a mining operation and you have a very low percentage of the hash rate, obviously you're not going to win those blocks very often. So you do want that consistent income coming in. So that's why people are pooling their resources together. That being said, there really isn't that many mining pools. And what's already happened, it's happened to Marapool. This was a while ago. Marapool represents around 4% of the Bitcoin hash rate. And this just happened with F2 Pool. is that they've censored before, and they've censored specifically for OFAC. OFAC stands for the Office of Foreign Asset Control. It's a part of the U.S. Treasury. You know, the same U.S. Treasury that went and had a press conference last week, grandstanding and telling us about the money laundering that was being done by Binance. And I'm sure that Binance is shady. I don't like the fact that they walked in a lot of unsuspecting noobs or no coiners into the industry and sold them altcoins, right? I don't like that. But at the same time, this is the same government that, has funded a lot of wars. This is the same government that is constantly debasing the currency of Americans, right? Which disproportionately affects the lower and middle classes. So, when they're taking the podium and saying that the U.S. is a country of laws, are they following those laws too? Or is it kind of like a rules for thee and not for me? And again, no way to know that for sure and whatever, but that's just my personal opinion as a millennial living in the U.S. I know that my life is definitely, I know that my housing, my ability to buy a house or my opportunities are lower than my parents were at the same age, right? So, and I think that has to do with poor monetary policy. I think that has to do with fiat. So, it's just, again, like, is it really about stopping money laundering, or is it truly about controlling the money, period, controlling the money flows? Because I think that the U.S. government gets a tremendous amount of power from U.S. sanctioned policy. And this is a very important discussion that we inevitably are going to have, because you have an open monetary network like Bitcoin that everyone can use. Yes, that means Russia. Yes, that means China. Yes, that means Iran. Versus a money that is politicized and weaponized, that only the people that the bureaucratic elite say can use money are entitled to use. So I think that this is going to be an inevitable clash of epic proportions. And I believe this is why they're planting the seeds, which is what I noticed about that press conference that we played for you guys, where we talked about last week, where they mentioned terrorism and Bitcoin like 1,000 times. But if you actually look at the data, and it was Senator Cynthia Lummis that posted this, more than 99% of illicit finance is funded through traditional means. It's not even coming through quote unquote crypto and Bitcoin and altcoins. So I think that this is where it's going, and kind of tying this back to the mining pools. The way that mining pools work now is that the mining pool operator gets to choose what blocks are included in that block. And with that power comes the ability to censor. And here you have F2 Pool, who's the third largest mining pool at the moment with 11% of the hash rate. And they were caught filtering or censoring certain transactions. Now, they walked it back after they got caught. St. Maripool did the same thing. They walked it back after they got caught. The community fought hard. Now, does this mean that Bitcoin can be censored? No, but this is an attack vector, because if you're a mining pool operator in Russia or in Venezuela or in whatever, if you find one block, that's going to be included in the blockchain. So yes, certain pools could try to censor, but if there's one mining pool that's not censoring, that block is going to be included, and the so-called censored or blacklisted transactions are going to be included in the blockchain. So this is a part of a deeper and bigger conversation. This is why it's so important. what this company is doing. Ocean. Shout out Jack Dorsey, shout out Luke Jackson Jr., and shout out Bitcoin Mechanic and the rest of the Ocean team. They also put together an incredible event. I'll show you guys a clip that I got from it. But anyways, back to this. So F2 pool disables transaction filtering patch. It goes on to say, we'll disable the TX filtering patch for now until the community reaches a more comprehensive consensus on the topic. What consensus? Like, what do you mean? Do you think the Bitcoin community is going to agree to censoring certain transactions? And again, the censorship isn't coming from the community. The censorship is coming from the US government. It goes on to say, a censorship-resistant system must be designed to resist censorship at the protocol level rather than relying on each participant to act opti. How do you say that fucking word, dude? Conscientiously and refrain from censorship. The internet and TCP and IP has failed this. Bitcoin should learn from the failure. It goes on to say, why do you feel surprised when I refuse to confirm transactions for those criminals, dictators, and terrorists? I have every right not to confirm any transactions from Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping, don't I? Meanwhile, CZ is selling his soul for money he deserves. So, okay, couple thoughts here, right? Like, dictator. So like, and mind you, if you're a mining pool operator, you have every right to censor transactions. But isn't it a coincidence whose transactions were being censored? Right? We've heard in the legacy corporate media those names be thrown around a lot: Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping. Right? So, anyways, just an interesting observation. So this is why this is so important. And like I said, I was so happy that I was able to witness this announcement live, and it was absolutely incredible. And this was the announcement of the decentralized Bitcoin mining pool, Ocean. So I'm going to read a little bit about what it does. Opti covered this yesterday, so I'm not going to get into too much detail. But it says Ocean aims to help miners regain an autonomy and decision-making power over more complex processes in mining operations, and is designed to be non-custodial, transparent, and permissionless. Quote, the intention is to disintermediate to the greatest extent possible. Pools have become trusted third parties whose permission we have required for activating soft forks and deciding what gets into the blockchain, in addition to taking custody of all newly generated coins. Ocean's global head of sales, Bitcoin Mechanic, said, quote, by offering transparency and a mechanism for miners to be paid directly by Bitcoin itself, we make the network radically more robust, right? So absolutely historical. Like I said, it was crazy. They did a christening. I think that's what it's called. And essentially when a new ship is made, one of the honors that they do is that they take a champagne bottle and they break the champagne bottle against the ship to kind of signify that the ship is ready to sail. And they did the same thing, and they did it on top of a Bitcoin miner. So let's check it out. I think it was awesome. It's about a 30-second video.
All right, you're up, Mark.
Too much give on the plastic. Come on, hit it hard. Come on, man. Doctor in the dress.
So successful launch of the pool. By the way, the pool is live. So you can go to ocean.xyz and you can start pointing your hash rate there right now. You don't even have to sign up. You could just start receiving sats. Now, as soon as this happened, guess what happened? We've been speaking a lot about the legacy corporate media today, and I'm going to connect some dots from you guys because just a lot of coincidences. So here's obviously Jack Dorsey. Quote, she thought it was the ocean. It's just the pool. And here is Nick Hoffman. Nick can't mine. And he says, new coordinated Bitcoin FUD dropping. Bitcoin uses too much water. Okay, so let's check it out. right? Isn't it strange that all of them are it's almost as if they're saying the same thing? It's not just electricity. Bitcoin mines burn through a lot of water too. A single Bitcoin transaction uses enough water to fill a swimming pool. A Bitcoin transaction uses the same amount of water as a swimming pool. Single Bitcoin transaction may use pools worth of water. Bitcoin consumes as much water as all the baths in Britain. Bitcoin's water consumption raises concerns in mining industry. BBC, every Bitcoin payment uses a swimming pool of water. Like Nick pointed out, and Nick is essentially head of news at Bitcoin Magazine, Jack Dorsey and Luke Dash Jr. launched a mining pool called Ocean yesterday, and now the media bringing out water FUD. I'm dead. This is hilarious. I don't care what any FUD says. I'm not going to decrease my water usage when water cooling my miners. Sorry, not sorry. So, pool of water, and Jack Dorsey, she thought it was the ocean. It's just the pool. Like, can it not be as more blatant, like blatantly obvious that is an attack? Like that is obviously like a narrative attack. And then the fact that it's not just one legacy corporate media outlet, it's all of them saying the same thing. And you know what that tells me, ladies and gentlemen? We are right over the motherfucking target. And to use the words of the great Elon Musk's, go fuck yourself. I'm not going to leave my pools alone. Hashtag leave my pools alone. God damn, bro. This is crazy stuff, bro. All this is happening is nuts. What's your thoughts on all this, Opti?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think the response is just absolutely incredible. Like, could they have at least, had some kind of delay so it wasn't this obvious? And, it just like, again, going back to the numbers that we saw today and the, Elon Musk little clip, it really makes me wonder how people still hold some sense of legitimacy for the corporate press. And it like the blatant propaganda, the blatant fake news, as it's known colloquially, it's just so obvious. Like, what a big mining pool story drops. It's called Oceans, and the very next day, they're like, "Oh, Bitcoin uses too much water," and it's like, what? Like, they're not even rolling out their best anymore. Like, the FUD is just getting even more ridiculous. I mean, what, years ago it was, oh, Bitcoin's going to boil all the oceans. And now it's like, oh, wait, it's actually using too much water. Like, we got to protect the water now. Like, it's always these ridiculous stories. Like, it's just nonsense.
Decentralized mining pool. Bitcoin uses more water than pools. Like, bro, it's like.
But actually, Nico, you just hit it on the head. Like that. Like literally, this just goes to show that the corporate press thinks everyone is absolutely stupid. Like, making those connections. Like, oh, what's a mining pool? Like, oh, it's boiling too much. It's using too much water. It's like, what? Like.
No, but you see what they're trying to do, though, because this is information narrative trench warfare. If you're not a Bitcoiner and you don't know what a pool is,
exactly,
they've already poisoned that well. So if you have the thought of pool, right, and you don't know what a mining pool is, and you see that from the legacy corporate media, and then you run into Jack Dorsey's tweet, you're like, oh my God. This guy's an extremist.
Using all the water.
This guy's extremist, dude. It's like the Bitcoiners are just rubbing in her face that they're using all the water. Like, yeah, it's so crazy. And again, guys, I can't reference that Nayib Bukele article enough so that you guys don't think that just it's simply Bitcoin putting pieces together ourselves. Of course, they also own the armies, the loans, the money supply, the credit ratings, the narrative, the propaganda, the factories, the food supply. They control international trade and international law, but their most powerful weapon is the control of the truth. And they're willing to fight, lie, smear, destroy, confiscate, print. So, I mean, the president of a country is even telling you what their ball game is here. So, yeah, guys, buckle in, do your own research, trust no one, trust minimize, take self-custody, run your own node. I recommend the Start9. There's a link in the description. I think you could use there's a discount there. There's a discount code there as well. So get the Start9 if you want to run your own Bitcoin node. Highly recommend it. It's the one I personally use myself. But yeah, man, buckle in. Take self-custody.
Sorry, this is me trolling right now, but shout out to the Bitcoin Bugle for being ahead of this story when he was saying that all the Bitcoin influencers were selling their bathwater. That's even more. That's even better journalism than we're seeing coming out of the corporate press. Oh my God, just absolutely incredible. Anyways,
100%. Speaking of mining and mining pools, I want to shout out our sponsor, Kaboom! They're the most trusted place to buy, sell, and host those pool using Bitcoin mining ASICs. So you definitely want to check out their racks. You can check out their entire inventory by scanning the QR code on your screen, or you could use the link in the video description or the podcast description. You can connect with a member of their sales team. They're going to make purchasing easy and transparent. You could also sell your pool users with them. It's kind of like a pun. You could, anyways. It's a bad joke. You could also sell your mining equipment with them. You could access their vast network of domestic and international customers when you sell your mining equipment with them. I definitely recommend Kaboom Racks. They are the most trusted place to buy, sell, and host Bitcoin mining ASICs. All right, everybody, no more delay. Let's get to the culture. We have a lot to talk about today. Let's check it out.
The Daily Culture.
Brought to you by SwanBitcoin.com. Swan is the best way to build your Bitcoin stack with automated Bitcoin savings plans and instant purchases, serving clients of any size from $10 to $10 million. We love Swan because they incentivize self-custody and dollar cost averaging. What are you waiting for? Visit SwanBitcoin.com today. All right, guys, if you're enjoying the show, it really helps if you smash that like button on YouTube. Help us break 200 likes by the time the show is over. We're at 161. Yeah, Lane said it best, 161 likes. I think we could do better. Guys, if you're enjoying the content, make sure to smash that like button. If you really enjoy the content, if you feel like we're providing you value, consider subscribing. It really helps a lot tremendously. We appreciate all you guys tuning in on YouTube, on Rumble, and on Twitter. Thank you guys. And of course, our audio listeners, thank you so much. And appreciate all our Fountain listeners, all our Anchor listeners, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and your podcast platform of choice. Well, this brings me to the topic of today's video. But let's start off with the Chad Saylor taking all the Bitcoin. He's just buying. He's just reaping in those. He's stocking fields of corn while the rest of us are just taking little kernels off the corn. Saylor's just buying all the corn. MicroStrategy has acquired an additional 16,130 Bitcoin for $593 million at an average price of $36,785 per Bitcoin as of November 29, 2023, MicroStrategy now holds 174,530 Bitcoin acquired for $5.28 billion at an average price of $30,252 per coin. Michael Saylor absolutely sticking to his conviction. Now, I know what a lot of you guys are thinking, like, holy cow, like that is an absurd amount of corn. How does that stock up to my stack, right? So today we're going to answer the question, how much Bitcoin does it take to be in the top 1% of Bitcoin holders? Because there are different levels to this. We'll get to the specific numbers. But first, let's kind of break down, the different sizes of Bitcoin holders. And then at the end, we're going to answer the question, are you too late to Bitcoin? Because some of you guys, maybe you just started stacking in 2020 and 2023, and you're like, holy cow, this is 37,000 per coin. Like, how am I going to ever get to that? I'm going to answer that question as well. Because remember, at the end of the day, guys, what the equation that truly matters is it is infinity divided by 21 million. You have something that has absolute scarcity. So if you divide 8 billion people on the planet by 21 million, right? It's not a lot of Bitcoin. It's really not. Anyways, so let's break down these numbers first. So to be a humpback, you need at least 5,000 Bitcoin or more. There's only roughly 220 people that fit this category. To be a whale, you need about between 1,000 to 5,000 Bitcoin. There's only about 2,000 people that fit that category. To be a shark, you need 500 to 1,000 Bitcoin. About 1,500 people fit that category. To be a dolphin, you need about 100 to 500. There's about 10,000 people that fit that category. To be a fish, you need about 50 to 100. There's about 11,000 people that fit that category. To be an octopus, you need 10 to 50. About 72,000 people fit that category. To be a crab, you need between 1 and 10 Bitcoin. About 500,000 people fit into that category. And to be a shrimp, you need less than 1 Bitcoin, and about 22 million people fit into that category. Now, I want you guys to pay attention to something. If you add all these numbers up, it doesn't even break 23 or 24 million people. Like, we are in the very, very, very beginning of this entire thing. So I know Opti is a big fan of memes, and I totally hijacked today's show because I've been gone a couple days and wanted to get back in the saddle. We might miss the meme review today because the show is
like looking pretty. It's fine.
Show is going a little bit long, but let's talk about mematics, right? So the no coiner, then you got the $100 coiner, the $1,000 coiner. There's a picture of Charles Schwab for some reason. The 0.01, the rope, the cope, the hope, the 0.1, the $100,000. The Bitcoin, the suicide stack.
Suicide stack, yeah.
The 1 Bitcoin, the break it stack, the 5 Bitcoin, the barons, the lords, the earls, the make it stack. Right. So I'm assuming is about a little bit less than 10 Bitcoin. The generational wealth stack, the marquises, 10 Bitcoin, the princes, the dukes, 50 Bitcoin and above, the kings with 100 Bitcoin, and then the emperors with the whale stack. And then the Chad sailors at the very, very top with the 10,000 Bitcoin or more. Now let's break it down to actual like specific numbers. I think this is the best information that I've found so far. And it really, really kind of like breaks it down into actual numbers, like specific numbers, right? So according to this report, to be in the top 0.001%, and there's roughly only 250 people that fit this category, you need a minimum of 7,000 Bitcoin. To be in the top 0.003%, there's roughly only 500 people that fit this category. You need about 2,189. To be in the top 0.01%, you need 433 Bitcoin. There's only roughly about 1,750 that fit this category. To be in the 0.03%, you need 215 Bitcoin. There's roughly only 5,000 people that fit this category. To be in the top 0.1%, you need 89 Bitcoin. There's roughly 17,500 people that fit this category. To be in the 1%, which is to answer the question of the video, currently you need about roughly 15 Bitcoin to be in the top 1% of Bitcoin hodlers. To be in the top 10% of Bitcoin hodlers, you need about 1.28%. But again, I know what a lot of you guys are thinking. You're like, holy shit. Especially, if you're new to Bitcoin, you're like, Nico, these numbers are absolutely insane. I'll never get to these numbers. I've missed the boat. Well, I think this article that I'm going to read by Luke Broyles does a great job at explaining how early we are. And I also want to point out, remember, at the end of the day, there are roughly 8 billion people on this planet, right? So we have to do the calculation with let's do it that way. So let's do 8 billion, right? So 8 billion people divided by 21 million. So if it was divided equally, let's do that again. Here we go. 8 billion divided by 21 million. Oh, I totally did that wrong. Let's try that one more time. Embarrassing.
Math is hard.
Divided by, I know we need Greg Foss here. Divided by 8 billion. Let's try that one more time. So if every Bitcoin were divided equally, it's 0.00265, right? 0.0265. What about to be in the 1% of those 8 billion? Let's do that. So let's do 8 billion times 0.01. So it's 80 million divided by 21 million. You need about 3.8 billion to be in the top. 3.8 Bitcoin to be in the top 1% of global Bitcoin holders. If you divide it equally amongst all the 8 billion people on the planet. Anyways, let's get to the Luke Broyles article, and he answers the question, which maybe some of you guys are asking: are you too late to Bitcoin? How much Bitcoin does it take to get rich, fund your lifestyle? How little Bitcoin does it take to protect yourself against inevitable inflation, bank runs, fiat demise? Are you too late to Bitcoin? What would a 1% allocation do? And I think Luke Broyles does a great job at answering all of this. He goes on to say, a closed monetary system inevitably absorbs all productivity systems. Money is the technology that prices everything else within its own ledger. There is no, quote, top price prediction for an immutable monetary standard of the human race, the standard. It goes on to say, so a better way to think of Bitcoin's value is not in price, but in purchasing power. Overlaying a share of monetary stock with a given amount of productivity is a better way to predict the money's value. It's worth noting that in a finite ledger, wealth inequality as we know it today does the reverse as we expect today. First, let's clarify entities. We have 10 arbitrary groups loosely based on today's wide-ranging estimates of mega-rich entities to those in poverty. When we loosely follow a Pareto distribution and today's current ranked distribution of entities, the below is what we get. Fascinating results. Michael Saylor, the US government, and a select others have become Bitcoin's 10 mega-rich entities already. Additionally, an average person today is more prosperous than a 20th century billionaire was. Therefore, if Bitcoin merely survives, as little as 800 sats could purchase a lifestyle in the future far more luxurious than an upper middle class lifestyle today, since Bitcoin is actually reflecting the real prosperity gains of the globe. Remember, and this last part is super, super important. And Jeff Booth has talked about this many, many times. It's not that you want more money. It's just you just want your money to be able to purchase the things that you want to purchase. And under a fiat standard, you constantly are forced to earn more and more and more money because that value is rapidly debasing. So it's very hard to look at the new system, at Bitcoin, even being a Bitcoiner myself, like roughly 8 years now. It's very difficult to imagine what a world would look like on a sound money standard. I think we could look at El Salvador. I think we could look at what Bitcoin has done to friends, family, companies, individuals that have adopted a Bitcoin standard. All of a sudden you have hope for a better future. All of a sudden you start to be conservative in your purchasing. You start to have a longer time preference because your money isn't just constantly debasing. But let's actually break down the numbers from Luke's article. So here he says it. So to be, in the nation/mega rich category, you need an average, you need about 140,000 Bitcoin. It's going to be about roughly 10 people that are 10 entities that have that much. To be a multi-billionaire/small nation, there's only going to be about 200. You need about 8,000 Bitcoin. To be a billionaire/mega corporation, there's going to be roughly 5,000 of those people. You need about 120 Bitcoin. To be a multi-millionaire/large corporation, you need roughly around 10 Bitcoin. To be a millionaire, check this out. In the future, you need about 0.06 Bitcoin. To be upper middle class, you need 0.008 Bitcoin. To be middle class, you need 0.001 Bitcoin. To be lower middle class, you need 0.0004 Bitcoin. To be lower class, you need 0.0002 Bitcoin. To be in poverty, you need about 0.00005 Bitcoin.
Can we convert this to sats, bro? I'm losing it with all the zeros.
So, okay, let's do sats. Let's do sats. We could do that. So to be a millionaire in the future, according to Luke Burrell's article, you need about 6 million sats. To be upper middle class, you need 800,000 sats. To be middle class, you need 100,000 sats. To be lower middle class, you need 40,000 sats. And to be lower class, you need 20,000 sats. And to be in poverty, you need about roughly 5,000 sats.
And just for the timestamps here, guys, you can buy like around 2,500 sats right now, currently for $1. It's around 3,000 sats. Like,
Yep. So, of course, you're thinking about this, and you're like, holy shit! Like, these people are smoking opium, right? But if I would have told you back in 2009, 2010, when Bitcoin had no value whatsoever, that roughly 15 years later is going to be worth 37,803, you would have had the same reaction to what that article is claiming. And I think the reason for that is because it's very difficult to envision a world on a sound money standard from within living in a world under a fiat money standard. It's almost like you have to do a little bit of deprogramming to, like, unprogram your brain in order to envision that type of world, right? So yeah, it's definitely exciting stuff. I hope I was very thorough. I hope it was all encompassing, and I hope I answered all your guys' questions. But yeah, someone has a great idea. Bookmark this episode. We'll come back in 10, 20, 30 years. And I hope this gives you a good idea of, where you fit in all this and where you could fit in all this, and that we are still so freaking early. Remember, guys, infinity divided by 21 million, truly it's like infinity divided by 18 million, like, if we're being real. And we know for a fact they're just going to continue to print forever. Remember the website? We show you this website all the time. I think Opti showed it earlier this week.
It was down. It was
down.
Yeah.
Price in Bitcoin. If you've been living, even with all the inflation, even with all the wars and all the BS and all the gaslighting and all that stuff, if you have been saving in Bitcoin, your life has been getting consistently cheaper. Housing has gotten cheaper. Gas has gotten cheaper. The S&P has gotten cheaper. Everything around you has gotten cheaper if you've been saving in Bitcoin. And that is the point that Michael Saylor is trying to prove on the public company level. That is what Nayib Bukele is trying to prove on the nation state level. And that is what Simply Bitcoin is trying to prove in the narrative trench warfare that we're fighting on the battlegrounds of the internet. Bitcoin truly does fix a lot of the economic woes that people are enduring. A lot of those woes are caused by currency debasement and the misallocation of capital. Anyways, Opti, what's your take on all this, brother? Where's your head at?
Yeah, first and foremost, while you were going, I always get reminded of how bullish CK is, 37 sats for generational wealth. And I forget what the block subsidy, what era epoch it is, but what I think it's like the very last one or something like that, or like 100 years from now or something like that. The amount of Bitcoin that miners are going to get is around 37 sats. And if you don't really wrap your head around what's going on right now, humans have a really hard time with big numbers. And we've never been in a world that we had true scarcity. And now we have digital scarcity. You cannot debase Bitcoin. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. We are currently at 19.5 Bitcoin, distribution around the world of all Bitcoins that will ever be created. I think it's like 93% of all Bitcoins that are ever going to be created are already circulating. And we're going to be buying for the last, 1.5 million Bitcoin for the next 100 years. Like, I don't think we truly understand what digital scarcity is. And of course, gradually, then suddenly, and exponential numbers and big numbers and math is hard and all this stuff. But what you can recognize today is the value of Bitcoin, of holding something that cannot be debased, true digital scarcity. And as we always say, the only number that really matters is the amount of sats under control that you own. Yes, we all have these speculations. Yes, we all wonder what the Bitcoin price will be in the future. Yes, we all, count our acorns and wonder whether we're going to be extremely wealthy in the future. Like, this is just part of being a human. But what really matters is the sats that you have under control, the amount of Bitcoin that you control in your cold storage, because it's not your Bitcoin if you're letting someone else hold it. And when I got into Bitcoin in around 2017, 2018-ish, we had American Hodl out here telling us to get to 6.15. And at the time, it seemed unattainable for most of us. And now one Bitcoin is basically around the same price that 6.15 was. And like now I'm still hearing grumblings from people out there. They're like, oh my God, like I could never even get to one Bitcoin. And you're starting to see that like average people are pretty much already priced out of Bitcoin. But if you're here today and you have the opportunity to stack, or you have Bitcoin on the sidelines, but you're waiting for what, like 33K or 12K or whatever, like we're at 37K Bitcoin right now. Like what's 5 or 10%, discount on your Bitcoin when it's going to 6, 7 plus figures? Like you should not be sitting on the sideline, because I really think that we underestimate how much value you are holding today by, even if you have someone saying like an amoeba stack, or, like even if you're holding 1 million sats right now, which is around like $300 or something. Like, I think this is attainable for everyone. And it's just really, it's a game of hungry hippo. I say it all the time. The game is accumulating sats. I don't see a time in my life where I won't be stacking, or rather saving in Bitcoin. Like, what else is there to save in? I can't save in dollars. I'm an average person. I don't have thousands of dollars in income every month to buy real estate. I'm trying to avoid as much debt as possible. So as my friend Surfer Jim says, just put your beer money in Bitcoin, and in time, you're going to be pleasantly surprised on what your purchasing power is. And in the 6 years that I've been in Bitcoin, my life has gotten cheaper. And I know this is just, what is it? Just one example. I forget what the name is for it here, but it's just an example of what I'm going through in my own life. But it just goes to show you that living on the Bitcoin standard, it really is making your life better. And right now is a time when it's like, guys, I don't think you understand that, yes, we are in a position of digital scarcity, 21 million Bitcoin, but also there is a time aspect of this, guys. Like, you shouldn't be putting this aside. You shouldn't be, buying all kinds of other stuff because maybe later I'll get Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going to go down again. It's like, now is the time to be stacking. Time in the market beats timing the market. You want to have some exposure to Bitcoin, because next cycle, most people are going to be completely priced down. You're going to look back and be like, man, I had the opportunity to buy 30,000 Bitcoin. I know it was expensive at the time, but now it's 300,000. I'm going to wait till it goes down again. It's like, no, guys, just continue to stack, dollar cost average, or what I do, capitulate your fiat as soon as you get it. Of course, pay for your rent, pay for your bills, buy groceries, survive. But also, if you're saving in Bitcoin, you're going to do much more than survive. You're going to start to thrive. And, just adding another little acorn, guys, there's 8 billion people in the world. More people are going to be born. And as we move to a hard money standard, the world will become more productive and the world will become wealthier, which means that your Bitcoin's going to be even worth more than the numbers that we can even calculate right now. Like, I really think that none of us are bullish enough. And even though I, say it all the time, I'm like as bull-tarded as it comes. Like, it hurts me sometimes how bull-tarded I am, because I know that like I'm not doing myself a service by just being stupidly bullish. But I really think we underestimate how huge Bitcoin really is and how big of a paradigm shift digital scarcity is. A truly hard cap money that cannot be debased. The world we are living in is being run by kleptocrats. They have stolen the future. Well, now they can't do that. And I don't think we even fully understand the effects of fiat on our society. And now we are seeing that there is a way, and the world is going to start to prosper instead of just hobbling along. And you have an opportunity to stack. Like, do whatever you can to get to one Bitcoin. But also, if you don't necessarily make it to one Bitcoin, it's not the end of the world. But just constantly stack, guys. Like, this is pay yourself first. This is for your future. Don't you love yourself enough to save in Bitcoin? Like this is the best gift you can give yourself. This is the best gift you can give future you is saving in Bitcoin today. You know, a little pain today for a better life tomorrow. Like this is just a common understanding of building wealth and personal finance and personal freedom is you need to sacrifice a little today to improve your life tomorrow. And I'm telling you, all of you guys that are new to Bitcoin are going to start to look at the world differently. Your life's going to improve. And this is what the whole goal of this is. Live a good life. Save in something that cannot be stolen from you, that cannot be debased. It is Bitcoin, 21 million hard cap, censorship resistant money, debasement proof money, you know, decentralized money, whatever meme you want to listen to. Just understand there isn't that much Bitcoin, and it's getting less and less as we move towards the halving, and the amount of Bitcoin you're holding today is going to go up exponentially. You need to stack your balls off. Like you need to go hard at stacking. And, you know, as the meme goes, maybe 6.15 is out of our reach. But
hey, but I mean, bro,
6.15 for each
how long did he say that? How long?
For years,
dude. Like, oh man. But look, if you guys have been tuning into the show for a while, you know, we've been same message for a very long time now. If you guys are new to Bitcoin, we just showed you guys like the chart. Is it out of the question to buy 0.6 million sats? Like, I don't think, what is 6 million sats? Let's do the on-air conversion. You know, according to Luke's calculation. So 6 million sats right now is the equivalent to $2,000 essentially. Like, am I doing that right? I think so.
Man, I remember when a million sats was $100. Here we are. What? 6 million sats is $2,000.
Yeah, 6 million sats, 2,226. Could you not afford 2 million sats?
Yeah, $2,000.
Yeah, that's
a reasonable goal.
That's the, you know, that's not out of the question for most people. Anyways.
But it's really a matter of priority. You know, everyone always says like, oh, I don't have the time for this. Like, oh, I don't have the money for this. I don't know. I think living a good life for the rest of your life is a big priority, and you should save some money. Like we live in this world right now where the velocity of money has gone so rampant in our society that like you feel like you always have to spend money. And I could never hold fiat until Bitcoin. Like I didn't have a savings until Bitcoin. And then you realize, oh my goodness, I can save my way and actually become prosperous. Like this is unheard of, guys. This is a totally new paradigm. And I really think we are all underestimating it.
100%. Anyways, guys, that was our episode for today. I'm happy to be back. We're going to be punting the meme
Nico hijacked the whole show.
I did.
This was one of these episodes.
Now listen, that's called motherfucking broadcast.
I had to get my dose of the host seat, man. I haven't done a show in like 3 days. It's
as you can tell, Nico loves this, guys.
I do love that. You can't do something like every day for years on end without loving it, man. So yes, I do love it, and I do really, really appreciate all you guys for showing us all the support and being here. Today was a very special episode because we broke all-time high viewers.
Abuse the soundboard now.
We hit 499 right before 500 live viewers. That's been the highest ever. Even when we've booked massive guests, whatever, on a live show, just in general on Simply Bitcoin. So we're extremely humbled.
Wait, Nico. Before we go on, someone asked, what's a sat? A sat is the smallest denomination of Bitcoin. It's broken down into 100 million sats. Maybe people can say 100 million Bitcoins, but for us right now, most of us call the smallest denominator of Bitcoin a sat. So it's Bitcoin. You can buy a lot for right now.
You should actually, to be honest with you, this is what I do. Like with you know, like with the apps that I for example, with the Swan app, you can pull it up and you can change the denominator from Bitcoin to Sats, and honestly, like on a psychological level, it feels a lot better.
Feels real good.
Like it often remember when we used to like $100 would get you like 0.01 Bitcoin, like, and you were just like, yeah, like
Dude,
now
$100
like,
used to make us a millionaire. Now it's what, 300?
So just I would
you can be a millionaire for $300 right now.
I know Cash App does this. I know that Strike does this. Obviously, we recommend Swan. Big fan. We're a sponsor.
It is.
The Swan app does this as well. You can change the denominator to Sats. I highly recommend that, because then that smash buy feels that much better, because then you're getting like hundreds of thousands of something, but only till now, because I guarantee you in 10 years that's not going to be the case. So take advantage of the sweet satoshis while you can. The future seems bright, guys. Thank you so much for tuning into Simply Bitcoin. Super happy to be back in the hot seat. I'm your host, Nico Moran. This is my co-host, Optimus Fields. We are Simply Bitcoin. Thank you so much for tuning in. And shout out to the rest of the Simply crew. Sophie for holding it down. Our boy Rustin, Morpheus, Zach, Weinicus in the background. We love all you guys. Like I said, if you enjoyed the show, smash the like button, consider subscribing. And we'll be back tomorrow for the Friday episode, where we will do an extended meme review. We got you guys back. We love you all. We will see you on the next one. Peace out, everybody.